Hello, and welcome to Dark Facts. This is a story about Harlan, a normal professor who had his life stolen by a memory that wasn't his. Imagine the shock when your neighbor asks how your 8-year-old son is doing, a son you never had. But the nightmare truly begins when the boy, Dmitriy, shows up in your kitchen, calling you Papa. Tonight, we reveal the terrifying cost of forgetting and the ancient Slavic curse that rewrote a man's entire life and replaced his reality with a terrifying new family.
How old must he be now? 8? 9? I stared at my neighbor, Mrs. Babbage, unsure what she was asking. She read the confusion on my face. "Your cute little guy. I saw him biking down the lane earlier. He must be old enough for grade 4 now, right?" Mrs. Babbage was a bit on the older side, but I never thought she had shown signs of dementia. Not until now. I wasn't exactly sure what to say. She proceeded to stare at me, tilting her head, as if I was the one misremembering. I awkwardly opened my mouth. "Oh, right, my little guy." She brightened. "Yes, he must be in grade 4, right?" Sure. I mean, yes, he is." "What a cute little guy," she said, and returned to watering her flowers. It was an odd, slightly sad moment. I wondered if her husband had seen glimmers of this too. I could only hope that this was a momentary blip and not the sign of anything Alzheimer's related. I took the rest of my groceries out of my car and entered home. I had a long day of teaching and I just wanted to sit back, unwind, and watch something light on TV. But as soon as I took off my first shoe, I smelled it. Something burning on the stove. Something burning with lots of cheese on it. The hell? I dashed over to the kitchen and almost fell down, partially because I was wearing only one shoe, but also because there was a scrawny little boy frying Kraft dinner? I let out a half scream, but very quickly I composed myself into the same assertive adult who taught at a university. "What? Excuse me? Who are you? What are you doing here?" The boy's blonde, willow-like hair whipped around his face as he looked at me with equal surprise. "Papa, what do you mean? I'm here. I'm here." He was a scared, confused child, and I couldn't quite place the bizarre inflection of his words. "Do you want some KD, Papa? Have some, have some." Was that a Russian accent? It took me a second to realize he was wearing an oversized shirt that looked just like mine. Was he wearing my clothes? I held out my palms like I would at a lecture, my standard "everyone settle down" gesture, and cleared my throat. "I'm sorry, I don't know who you are or what this is." The boy widened his eyes, still frightened by my intensity. He stirred the food with a wooden spoon. "It's KD, Papa. Your favorite, chili cheese kind. Don't you remember?" His name was Dmitry, and he claimed to be my son. Apparently, at some point, there had been a mother, but he didn't remember much about her. He only remembered me. "You've been Papa my whole life, Papa." I tried having a sit-down conversation. In fact, I tried to have many sit-down conversations, where I explained to Dmitry that that would be impossible. But it always ended with him clutching me with impassioned tears, begging me to remember him. The confusion only got worse when my mother called. "How is my grandson doing?" she asked. I didn't know how to reply. The conversation grew awkward and tense until eventually I clarified my whole predicament. "Mom, what are you talking about? I don't have a son.
I've never had a son." My mother gasped a little, then laughed and scolded me, saying I shouldn't joke around like that. Because of course, I've always had a son, a smart little guy who will be celebrating 9 this weekend. I hung up. I stood petrified in my own kitchen, staring at this strange, expectant Slavic child. For the next 10 minutes, all I could do was ask where his parents were, and he just continued to act frightened, like any authentic kid might, and replied with the same question. "How did you forget me, Papa?"
My method wasn't getting me anywhere, so I decided to play along. I cleared my head with a shot of espresso. I told him my brain must have been scrambled from overworking, and I apologized for not remembering I was his father. He brightened immediately. "It's okay, Papa. It's okay." He gave me a hug. "You always work so hard." The tension dropped further as Dmitriy finished making the noodles and served himself some. I politely declined and watched him eat, and he watched me watch him eat. "So, you're okay now? You're not angry?" His accent was so odd. "No," I said, "I'm not angry. I was just a little scrambled." His eyes shimmered, looking more expectant. "So, we can be normal now?" A wan chill trickled down my neck. I didn't really know what to say, but for whatever reason, I did not want to say, "Yes, we can be normal now," because this was not normal. Far from it. This child was not my son. He started playing with his food and quivered a little, like a worried mouse seeking reassurance. "Everything will be fine," I eventually said. "No need to stress. Enjoy your noodles." To my shock and dismay, I discovered that Dmitry also had his own room. My home office had somehow been replaced by a barren, clay-walled chamber filled with linen curtains, old wooden toys, and a simple bed. The smell of bread and earth wafted throughout. I watched him play with his blocks and spinning tops for about half an hour before he started to yawn and say he wanted to go to sleep.
It was the strangest thing tucking him in. He didn't want to switch to pajamas or anything. He just sort of hopped into his straw bed and asked me to hold his hand. Dmitry's fingers were cold, slightly clammy little things. It was very bizarre, comforting him like my own son, but it appeared to work. He softened and lay still. He didn't ask for any lullaby or a bedtime story. He just wanted to hold my hand for a minute. "Thank you, Papa. I'm so glad you're here. So glad you can be my Papa. Good night." I inched my way out of the room and watched him through the crack of his door. At about 9:30, he gave small, childlike snores. He had fallen asleep. Cautiously, I called Pat, my co-worker with whom I shared close contact. She had the same reaction as my mother. "Harlan, of course you have a son. From your marriage to Svetlana." "My marriage to who?" "You met her in Moscow when you were touring Europe." It was true that I had guest lectured 15 years ago across the UK, Germany, and Russia. I was awarded a grant for it. But I only stayed in Moscow for 3 days. I never met anyone named Svetlana. "Don't be weird, Harlan. Come on." Pat's conviction was very disturbing. "You and Svetlana were together for many years." "We were? How many?" "Look, I know the divorce was hard, but you shouldn't pretend your ex-wife doesn't exist."
I'm not pretending. I'm being serious. I don't remember her." "Then get some sleep." I sipped on my second espresso of the night. "But I have slept. I'm fine." "Well, then I don't get what this joke is. Knock it off. It's creepy." "I'm not joking. I'll see you tomorrow for the birthday." "Birthday?" "Yes, your son's birthday. Jesus Christ." "Good night, Harlan. Get some sleep." I didn't sleep that night. My efforts were spent scouring the filing cabinets and drawers throughout my house. I had credit card bills covering school supplies, kids' clothing shops, and costlier groceries. I even had pictures of Dmitriy hung around the walls from various ages. It's like everything was conforming to this new reality. The harder I looked for clues to disprove my fatherhood, the more evidence I found confirming it.
It was Dmitry who woke me up off the living room couch and said Uncle Boris was here. Uncle Boris? I peeked through the window and could see a very large blonde man smiling back at me. Behind him was a gaggle of other relatives all speaking Russian to each other. "Hello, Harlan," the blonde man's voice penetrated past the glass. "We are here for birthday." They all looked excited and motioned to the front door. They were all wearing tunics and leggings, traditional birthday clothes or something. I was completely floored. I didn't know what to do, so I just sort of nodded and subtly slinked back into my kitchen. Dmitry came to pull at my arm. "Come on, Papa. We have to let them in." "I don't know any of them." "Yes, you do, Papa. It's Uncle Boris. It's Uncle Boris." I yanked my hand away. It was one thing to pretend I was this kid's dad for a night. It was quite another to let a group of strangers into my house first thing in the morning. Dmitry frowned. "I'll open the door." "Wait, hold on." I grabbed Dmitry's shoulder. He turned away. "Let go." I tried to pull him back, but then he dragged me into the living room again. Our struggle was on display for everyone outside. Boris looked at me with saucer eyes. Dmitry pulled harder, and I had no choice but to pull harder back. The boy hit his head on a table as he fell. Boris yelled something in Russian. Someone else hollered back. I heard hands trying to wrench open my door. "Dmitry, stop," I said. "Let's just take a minute to—" "You're hurting me, Papa. Oi!" My front door unlocked. Footsteps barreled inside. I let go of my son and watched 3 large Slavic men enter my house with stern expressions. Dmitry hid behind them. "Is everything okay?" Boris peered down at me through his tangle of blonde hair. "Yes, sorry," I said, struggling to find words. "I'm just very confused." "Confused? Why were you hitting Dmitry?" The little boy pulled on his uncle's arm and whispered something into his ear. Boris's expression furrowed. But before I could speak further, a slender pair of arms pushed aside all the male figures and revealed a woman with unwavering, bloodshot eyes. Something in me knew it was her, Svetlana. She wore a draped brown sheet as a dress, with skin so pale I could practically see her sinews and bones. It's like she had some extreme form of albinism. "Harlan," she said, somehow breaking my name into 3 syllables. Har-el-an. I've never been so instinctively afraid of a person in my life. It's like she had weaved herself out of the darkest edges of memory. I saw flashes of her holding my waist in Moscow, outside Red Square. Flashes of her lips whispering chants in the shadows of St. Basil's Cathedral. Svetlana held Dmitry's shoulder, then looked up at me. "Just tell him it will be normal. Tell him everything will be normal." No, this is not happening. None of this is real. Barefoot and still wearing the same clothes as yesterday,
I bolted out the back of my house and hurtled towards my driveway. Before the rest of my new family could realize what was going on, I hopped into my Subaru and stepped on the gas. As I drove away from my house, I looked back into my rearview mirror, and I swear it didn't look like my house at all. I swear it looked like a thatched roofed hut.
Back at the university, I walled myself up in my study. I canceled all speaking arrangements for the next week, saying I needed a few personal days. No one in my department knew I had a son. Nothing in my study indicated I had an extended Russian family. When I asked Pat about our phone conversation last night, her response was, "What conversation?" My mom said the same thing. With immense trepidation, I returned to my house the following day, and after setting foot back inside, I knew that everything had reverted back to the way it was before. No more framed pictures of Dmitry, no more alarming photo albums, and that clay-walled room where Dmitry spun tops and slept inside, it was just my home office again. To this day, I still have no clue what happened during that bizarre September weekend. But doing some of my own research, I'm starting to think I did encounter something in Moscow all those years ago. Some kind of lingering old curse, or a stray spirit, or a chernaya vedma, a black witch disguised as an ordinary woman. Although I haven't seen any evil things bubble up around my place since, every now and then I do have a conversation with Mrs. Babbage, and she seems to remember my son very well. Such a cute little guy, always waving hello. Did you know he offered me food once? I think it was Kraft dinner.
Reality is more fragile than it seems. Who do you think Dmitry really was? Let me know your theories in the comments. If you like this video, hit the like button, and to catch our next terrifying stories, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell.